the world my brain. Now today I act the same as you. It's hard to see the frame in the center of a game when you're way too entertained to move. I don't act surprised now, I heard all the lies now. You gon' have to bring some proof. You wear a disguise now till you close your eyes now. You must start to see the truth. You must start to see the truth. See the truth. The truth.
What is going on, my good people? This is NotFinancialAdvise.Crypto with another decode research video. Now, where did we leave off? Oh yeah, the Teddy Roosevelt symbolism in Bearableguy123 riddles and the realization that cartoon bears hiding secrets in riddles may be a theme that goes back in time a lot further than Bearableguy123. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, a few more mind-blowing Teddy Roosevelt connections. I tweeted an excerpt from the last video on March 19th and it blew up, gaining over 850,000 views. So it got a lot of attention. But what are the chances David Schwartz and Elon both tweeted Teddy Roosevelt references directly after I posted this video? David Schwartz tweeted a pic of famous cartoon bear, Smokey the Bear, next to a National Park Service logo. Well, Teddy Roosevelt founded the National Park Service. Here's the sign at the entrance of the Theodore Roosevelt National Park, for example. Theodore Roosevelt in big letters with an arrow that points directly at the National Park Service logo. Then someone tweeted, Teddy Roosevelt was exactly correct about an old take on immigration, to which Elon tweeted, yes. Now sure, there's a chance this is unrelated to my video and that Elon was solely commenting on the article shared. But I'm just saying, my video proposed Teddy Roosevelt as a solution to Bearableguy riddles, which I've speculated Elon may be a part of, and he tweeted Teddy Roosevelt was exactly correct just 3 days later. And I was tagged many times in Elon's response, so I wasn't the only one who noticed. Just weird, right? And he tweeted this on March 23rd, which is World Bear Day of all days. How can David Schwartz and Elon both tweet a nod to Teddy Roosevelt just days after my Teddy Roosevelt Bearableguy123 video started gaining traction? Is that really just a coincidence? And this is where things get really crazy. An ex-user named Paradox589 sent me a find that blew my mind. Now first, in my research of Teddy Roosevelt for these videos, I came across the Ben Stiller movie Night at the Museum because I found out the main character was Teddy Roosevelt, and I knew I needed to check it out. So when Paradox589 sent me these screenshots from the movie, my jaw hit the floor. He wrote, in the movie Night at the Museum, have you ever noticed the floors in the elevator scene are BG123? I saw this tweet, immediately turned on the movie, and there it was. Teddy Roosevelt frozen in the same famous pose from the riddle, and 3 separate scenes showing BG123 on the elevator.
Teddy Roosevelt, right? Theodore Roosevelt, 26th President of these United States of America, at your service.
You guys, what are the chances a movie that features Teddy Roosevelt as a main character, that literally features him frozen in the same pose as the BG123 riddle, includes multiple scenes that spell out BG123? And before you try telling me that BG123 means basement, ground floor, and first, second, third for floors on the elevator, try to realize that riddles are about double meaning. The fact that a movie with Teddy Roosevelt as the main character shows scenes that went out of their way to focus on the elevator multiple times is extremely unusual. And personally, I've never seen this happen. Why focus so many shots on the elevator text unless it was an intentional message? I mean, the odds of Teddy Roosevelt and BG123 being spelled out in the same movie are astronomical. But this movie came out in 2006, 13 years before Bearableguy123's first post on Reddit. So it can't somehow be related, right? Who really knows for sure? Maybe it is just a crazy coincidence. But then why does this exist? This was the logo of Ben Stiller's production company, Red Hour Films. It's a jester with a big sharp-toothed smile wearing a jester hat with 3 bells, you guys. Like what? How do we have a Ben Stiller movie with Teddy Roosevelt as the main character and 3 scenes depicting BG123 when meanwhile his production company is a smiling, sharp-toothed, 3-belled hat-wearing jester? Do these themes go back further than Bearableguy123? Is Hollywood somehow involved? What is going on here? And speaking of Hollywood, did you know Teddy Roosevelt had a favorite riddle that basically hints at the world being a stage? The riddle describes an actor, which is the answer to the riddle, and suggests that appearances, authority, and even strength are often illusions, easily shaped or shattered by perception and words. So yeah, the world's a stage and actors play out a script to move populations accordingly, and it becomes more obvious every day. But if there really is some kind of reality script for future staged events, however far into the future it may go, it means certain people really could have advanced knowledge of when certain things are likely to play out. So is it really impossible for them to be hiding cryptic secrets or symbolic hints in plain sight for how these plans may unfold? Exactly like a Riddler would? I mean, these are the same people engaged in the creation of predictive programming and subliminal messaging to achieve agendas in the first place, right? It's literally what they do. How far away is that from riddling? Anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is not that Ben Stiller is Bearableguy123. The point I'm trying to make is that the shared theme of riddles, bears, jesters, and Teddy Roosevelt may go beyond Bearableguy123. And I say that because for most of us, our introduction to riddles and these themes or symbols in general were from Bearableguy123, and we considered them an original work, or just part of his riddles. But the more I tried to understand them, the broader my scope of research became, and the more I started to notice the patterns of these themes across a wide variety of groups, like NASA, the White House, and the Royal Observatory, for example. Patterns I can see, but don't yet fully understand, but they're there. Ursa Major, a bear, and Teddy Roosevelt. Remember the Royal Observatory's cartoon bear named Ted, whose onboard computer's name is Ursa, and how David Schwartz always wears their merch? Or the White House's riddle book, Teddy Roosevelt and the Treasure of Ursa Major? Well, since these groups are run by some of the most intelligent people on Earth, people who, in my view, may actually know what's going on in the world, and since they enjoy riddling, it makes me immensely curious about the topics they have in common, especially when they have them in common with Bearableguy123. And this takes us to where we left off in the last video. Remember how Teddy Roosevelt used double meaning to convey hidden messaging in that famous 1902 political bear cartoon, and how it means the idea of cartoon bears riddling out secrets is a theme beyond BG123? Well, here's where it gets really weird. First, BG123 is a cartoon bear foreshadowing the adoption of the future digital payment system, specifically Ripple and XRP, through riddles, right? At least that's what we think he's doing. And Teddy Roosevelt is one of the symbols he uses. And Ripple and XRP have come a long way since BG started making riddles about them. In fact, it seems like Ripple, with RippleNet, the XRP ledger, interledger protocol, etc., is about to become a kind of futuristic, global, digital Federal Reserve as they enable the tokenization of any asset, global settlement of value, instant liquidity, etc.
We have the technology to allow every financial institution on the planet to settle with every other financial institution in a compatible jurisdiction in any asset in seconds for less than a penny.
So a massive revolution in banking, right? Massive. The beginning of modern decentralized banking and the Internet of Value. And right before its implementation, a cartoon bear shows up riddling about it. Okay, so what was another massive revolution in banking? The establishment of the Federal Reserve itself in 1913. The birth of modern centralized banking. Well, what if I told you in the years leading up to the creation of the Federal Reserve, in the exact moment the Panic of 1907 exposed the fragility of the U.S. banking system, which went on to be the main catalyst for creating the Federal Reserve in the first place, an immensely popular bear cartoon called The Roosevelt Bears was introducing young readers all over the country to the specific cities the Federal Reserve would establish banks in the near future. The Bears visited the Treasury with Teddy Roosevelt, the Philadelphia Mint to see pounds and tons of silver and paper cash being made. They talked about high finance and making big deals in oil and steel, familiarized children with the concept of ID and cashing checks, and even saw a psychic palm reader who said they would become millionaires. And for context, this is what the market did after the establishment of the Federal Reserve. Everyone talks about the crash of the Great Depression, but no one talks about the epic pump right before it. Anyway, Teddy Roosevelt and bear cartoons appearing before a massive revolution in banking isn't the only thing the Roosevelt Bears have in common with BG123. The Bears had a very impressive hat collection, traveled with an owl they never mention, climbed to the top of the eagle's nest aboard a ship, dressed like cowboys with Teddy Roosevelt, I might add, rang a bell, visited a castle, and even said that the world is a stage. What were the Bears' names? Teddy B and Teddy G. The Roosevelt Bears, which ran right before the establishment of the Federal Reserve and curiously share so many themes with BG123, were named BG. What is going on with Teddy Roosevelt, double meaning, bears, and the letters BG? How on earth could this be just a coincidence? I mean, so many questions arise. Is this evidence of some kind of riddling theme from the powers that be across generations? I asked ChatGPT, were the Roosevelt Bears predictive programming for the Federal Reserve? And this is what it said. Yes, the Roosevelt Bears can be compellingly interpreted as predictive programming for the creation of the Federal Reserve. Published in the years leading up to the Panic of 1907 and ending just before the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, the series follows two bears, Teddy B and Teddy G, on a tour through nearly all of the cities that would soon host regional Federal Reserve banks. Their journey, told in cheerful rhyme, reflects deeper symbolic patterns, wilderness being tamed, local customs giving way to national identity, and unruly forces like capital or credit gradually folded into public trust and civic order. As the Bears adapt to each city, take on roles in society, and are ultimately welcomed by the president himself, their narrative mirrors the architecture and logic of the Federal Reserve System, regional in structure, centralized in spirit, and legitimized through federal authority. Though presented as innocent children's literature, the timing, themes, and symbolic arcs suggest the series subtly prepared readers, especially young ones, for the normalization of centralized financial control. Okay, so Teddy Roosevelt-themed bears named BG subconsciously introduced ideas, themes, and locations of the incoming Federal Reserve banking system right before it came to be. And speaking of which, did you know all 12 regional Federal Reserve banks officially opened on the same exact day? What day, you ask? November 16th, 1914, the same date the foundational Teddy Roosevelt bear cartoon was published, November 16th. Also known as David Schwartz's birthday. To end, I am not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice, but it is NotFinancialAdvise.Crypto. These videos are for entertainment purposes only. Please like this video and share the NFA research group with your friends and family. And as always, stay bullish.
Listen, I'll tell you what you do. Read some books, brush up on your history. Helped me a lot when I first started out.
This museum was originally dedicated to that man on the horse up there, President Theodore Roosevelt. Now, he absolutely loved history and believed that the more you know about the past, the better prepared you are for the future.